Hey everybody, welcome to Tier List Tuesday with Broken Port Media. Really excited to get into our tier list for this week. We're going to be doing controllers from PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo. So without further ado, let's get into it.
All right, Mitchell. PS4. First one on the docket. Where are you putting this?
All right, so PS4 DualShock. For me, this is a D.
Really?
This was one of this is the controller that almost made me quit PlayStation.
Don't agree with the call to action, but I agree with one thing. It had a speaker. And I know like the next one has a speaker, but this threw me off. A controller is supposed to do one thing, and that's control.
This was so not ergonomic compared to the PS3 and to the Xbox One controller that it was like I bought an Xbox One S and played games that ran worse just so that I didn't have to use this controller.
Damn. Okay. I'm not even going to fight with that. Okay, but before we go any further, what are we doing with S on this list?
Can there only be one S or can there be one S per brand?
No, I feel like only one S because we only have like 15 or so. Like, I think one S.
Okay, so there's going to be one S. One S tier.
Wii. I'm putting Wii here because it reminds me of a little system that could. This little Wii, like, it was so fun. It was so fun, but it only lasted for a blink of the eye because it was also so crappy. But this thing really did motion kind of well for the time. Things got better with motion controllers, but like for the time, this was pretty neat. Like this blew like anybody that was like 45 and older, they were like, whoa. This is still in retirement homes. They're still playing golf, man. Remember my bachelor party? What'd we do on our bachelor party?
Yeah, Wii Tennis.
We tennised all over the place.
Wii Tennis was the way. So the Wii controller, the Wiimote.
Yeah, this was even call it a controller.
This was, I'd say, I don't know, revolutionary, but this was a big step in video games. It was something different. It was created a lot of good times. It wasn't like if you wanted to play like a regular Mario game, this was not it, right?
No.
It was not meant to play,
In fact, I think they had classic controllers on the side.
They did. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So like it wasn't meant to play this way. It was meant to play this way, right?
Yeah.
And you had to move it around. So
I got a controller too, Mitch.
it's got its own kind of niche.
Yeah.
I would put it in A, not because it's like
just for
the best controller for games in general, but it is kind of its own category.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of good times had with this, even though it wasn't the best for everything. I'm okay with an A tier for that.
Okay. N64, where are you putting that?
N64, it's like
somewhere here, right?
Yeah, good times were had with this, right? But it wasn't like it wasn't a good idea.
I think top a C.
It was like it was really good for all those people that had 3 hands, but I wasn't one of them. So,
my buddy was swimming near the nuclear plant. He had a time and a half.
And like the C buttons, the like yellow D-pad there was always like, it's like, well, are these like legit buttons or are these just kind of like extras? Or that was my take when I was playing it when I was a kid, right?
For me, like 1% of the time I went over to the D-pad.
Yeah, it was like joystick A and B. So okay. I say C because I'm okay with not using the N64 controller. I like the N64 games, but the controller meh.
PlayStation 3. Now, me, honestly, I put this back of a front end. I won't say very front end of B.
I would
Because
say, yeah, go ahead.
I had a hell of a time playing this in my first apartment with my wife. We were too poor to pay for heat, so we'd have blankets on, but there was no cord. This was the first system that I had that had no cord, and it was Bluetooth, and you could just recharge it. And the sticks were kind of close together, but it still worked because they were like concave. I really like this controller for
It
what it was.
this was this was the peak of PlayStation. They got to the
Yeah,
PS3 and they perfected their controller.
yeah.
Uh, I would say like one of the main things that was not good on the PS3 controller was the triggers. This was the first time there was legit triggers, and they weren't concaved, right? They weren't like they were still flat and they were rounded like. Okay, I'm gonna use the Xbox controller again, but instead of being rounded this way, they were rounded this way,
Mm-hmm.
which you were like you
Worked
would
better
press
for
it
your finger.
down, but then you would always be pressing on this hard edge at the top, right?
Mm,
Like it would they hurt your hands after a while, and
mm.
the PS4 also hurt your hands after a while. So it in some ways it was perfect, but the triggers were not perfect, and like the joysticks were good, but they had room for improvement. So I don't know. I'm torn on that one. A or B. Um,
I think top end of B for me. Maybe even bottom A, but we can reevaluate later. Right now, we need to discuss the Duke.
okay, so this original
All
Xbox
right.
controller.
I remember
Okay,
this
you
being in
you
like
you start with this.
I remember this thing being in music videos and like promotion material. Like I never played with it because by the time I got an Xbox, they like reevaluated and they made a better version. There's actually the better version of the Xbox controller isn't on this list.
Yeah,
So we're gonna start making our own list instead of these community ones. But for this, I don't know, man.
yeah. I think D is fine because look, this controller didn't even make it the full generation of the
No.
console. It was
I think that
like,
was 6 months in, then they were like, nah, we gotta deal with this.
yeah. I don't know what kind of R&D went into that, but it was not the right one.
This is like almost a Dreamcast controller.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. We don't need to spend a lot of time on that. NES. I'm
Okay,
thinking.
so
I'm thinking here or here. You?
I would say C because there is nothing like revolutionary about this controller. Like, okay, it's the original Nintendo, but it was not
Simple,
made to be comfortable in your hands.
not comfortable.
It
How many
was
cramps were had?
just buttons on a little board, and that's it. Like
All
you
this,
would be very happy to have anything else come your way to be more comfortable than this little rectangle.
all,
So,
all this is a PCB with a couple buttons soldered to it, surrounded by a case.
yeah. I think C is okay. It gets a couple points for nostalgia and for
Yes.
being,
Yeah.
like this is all we needed for a game console. It's got its few buttons and here they are and everything's easy to get to. That's it.
I'm gonna take like a 10-second lead on this because I know you have strong feelings on this.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. If I'm voting the Xbox 360 top of A, and I'll tell you why. Because it switched what we were used to with the PlayStation. It switched the thumbstick and the D-pad. And it was just a more comfortable way of doing it. And it also had double A batteries, which some, depending where you stand, was either a plus or a minus. But it also had a unique ergonomic design that kept through every generation. Go. Where are you
Yeah,
putting this?
I agree with this being at top of A. I'm not going to give it S
No.
because there is better,
Mm-hmm.
but the design of this is what also made me dislike the PS4 controller that much more the
Mm.
next generation, because I had the Xbox 360 first, then I got the PS3, and the 360 controller was better than the PS3 without a doubt because it was more ergonomic in every single way. And I would say the only thing that I didn't like that made it less ergonomic was that the battery pack stuck out on the back, because it
Yeah,
was this way.
it would like butt
We're
up
gonna
against your
we're
fingertips.
gonna bring this out again, okay? So this is built in this way, but the 360, it was up and down, it was an up and down rectangle, and it protruded out. So it was not as ergonomic, because if you were to grab the controller, you couldn't do this. No, your fingers would have to be separated this way. However, despite that, it still really worked ergonomically.
Yeah, yeah. So I like it at top of A.
I think
Uh,
that's good.
GameCube. I have very next to none experience with this, but I
So
kind of want to put it
I
either
I have
side
some
of this
friends
one.
that love game, like, are so big in Nintendo, as they say on This Is the Nintendo Defendos and so on. I thought this controller was another weird situation,
I
and I would
do.
put this in D. Because I would definitely
I
put the
think it's
PS4
better than
controller.
N64 though.
No,
You think N64 is better than this? You
well,
can't. You
you
don't
know
need
what?
a third arm.
Maybe the N64 is. mm, I mean, I guess, but see, Nintendo should have known better by this point. That's what makes it worse.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
they
And
made
I
a
think
wireless
the
one, and that
GameCube
was good.
also had classic controllers too.
But I mean, I don't know. In There were just things about this that they was just so awkward. I mean, look at the button layout.
Yeah, it looks like a toy.
Like, it's like what are you doing? What's going on here?
What's with this void in the middle? Like that didn't need to be
And
there.
like the A and the B, and what's the like, and then the other two gray buttons, like,
Now
I was always just like, oh,
I do know that the GameCube controller, like the input, would work with the Wii as well if you didn't have like a
yeah.
classic controller. But I
Yeah,
don't think they
I
were
guess
thinking
there.
that at the time.
I guess bottom of C, it's fairly tied with the N64 for just the, like, what?
All right, moving on. Super Nintendo. I think this goes here
Yeah, I think it's a
because
B. It's a B.
it got an addition of 2 extra buttons, which kind of made it through every generation of other controllers, and it had invented the shoulder button.
Yeah,
So yeah, I don't think we have anything else to
yeah.
say about this.
I think Super Nintendo B tier. I think that's a solid place for it.
All right, PS1. I don't know, dude. I'm a hater. Call me.
No, so
Without the sticks, because PS1 had sticks as well.
yeah, they came in later, and
Yeah.
when the sticks came in for PS1, they were not good. This controller, as it was, so you have to think this was up against, like, the Super Nintendo controller at the time. This was very ergonomic, very comfortable, and good to use for what it was. Um, and the analog sticks took some getting used to for me anyway. So I
Mm.
would put this at top of B or bottom of A.
Bottom of A?
Yeah, because
Are
see,
you actually on crack?
they had R1 and R2, but there were no triggers back then, and there was no need for triggers back then. So it was for what was needed.
I'll
It
do
was
you top of
comfortable.
B. Top of
Okay, I'll
B?
go top of B.
Okay. Well, if you lasted this long through the video, please like and subscribe. This week we forgot to ask you to do that on our podcast, but you guys seem to really like these tier lists, and we'll keep them coming as long as we have support, so we appreciate that.
TLT Tier List Tuesday.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I have a problem with this next entry. Oh,
Okay, you take it away.
not the news, but this next entry, Wii U. It's not a controller, dude. It's the system. Because isn't this thing was like the precursor to the Switch? It was like a secondary display. which
I
is
guess so.
which maybe that's cool. I don't know how I feel about this. Where you lay?
So no, this was not the system itself. It didn't.
You
Because I
could
don't think
play it
it dot.
independently though.
Uh, I
Yeah,
don't know. But
I
it
do
was
know that.
wasn't like an ergonomic thing either. I would say because
No,
the Wii U overall was
this
just
was
not
basically
was not a success.
a flat tablet, but like not the tablet that we know today, like a
I'll put
stone
it in.
tablet.
I'll put this in D.
I put
At
it
the I'll
top
put
of
this.
D, bottom
No,
of C.
no. I put this at the bottom of D. This is just no. This
All
was
right,
just a waste of everybody's time.
Nintendo don'ts over here.
The Nintendo.
All right, Xbox One era. I didn't have this.
So Xbox One. I mean, look, the Xbox One compared to the Xbox Series controller
Hey, we have that coming up.
is virtually the same. Okay, so
Divots. They got divots over here though.
it's all about those divots.
I'm all about the divots.
So I will say, I'll say top of A. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're thinking the same thing. All right. I know one thing about this controller and one thing only is that the batteries on the PS5 controller are horrendous. All my friends complain about it all the time. That leads me bottom of C. Where you at?
No, 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 no. No,
Battery
yeah, the battery's trash, but the controller overall is very good.
mid B.
The this is the best controller PlayStation's ever made. So this is bottom of A at the lowest.
All right, you're the man with the PS5. I'll trust you on that. All right. Moving on. Where we at the Switch? Well, this is what PC people use, right?
Newest Xbox controller is S tier.
Yeah,
You
it's
you
great.
can't. The only thing honestly that comes up against it is the DualSense. The DualSense is
However,
I
not
don't.
on the list. Stay
What do you mean
relevant.
it's not on the list?
Oh,
The
sorry. I
DualSense is
thought
the
you were
PS5
talking.
controller.
I thought you were talking about the Pro version of this. Sorry.
You know what? I wonder. I would put the PS5 controller second in A.
It's hard
I
because
still
these are
prefer the Xbox
identical.
controllers over it.
Yeah.
And
It says something that Steam like puts preferential treatment on the Xbox controller. Like
well, it's
in the
Microsoft,
setting.
right?
Yeah. It's pretty great. All right. Joy-Cons. I'm putting Joy-Cons bottom of B, top of C, and for one reason only, drift. I've returned 3 of these friggers.
Something that's not on here, the Switch Pro controller. I bought two from Best Buy, brand new, full stick drift on the Pro controller.
Wow.
Bought it, brought it home. My guy in Animal Crossing was just going. Returned it, got another one. I finally have a third one now, and it seems to be okay. But who knows what's gonna happen? I bought like a cheap one, not
like
Nintendo
$40,
branded. I
eh?
forget what the brand is, but for like $30 on Amazon.
I remember you
Perfect,
telling me
amazing
this.
controller.
Yeah, I remember you telling me this.
But anyway, I think B is good because yeah, they still have kind of the functionality of the Wiimote, but they didn't like revolutionize anything.
Yeah.
And they're good for kids, but for like an adult's hand, they're not great. So
Very thin, and I like how they charge once it's like docked into the system. But the drift, the quality alone, like
they're not great quality,
Like if it was
and they're so expensive.
yeah,
$100 Canadian.
Actually, oh crap, where did I have this? Okay, actually, I would knock that down to C for that top of C.
I think bottom of B is okay because they are still
Okay.
useful, and you can use them as 2 separate controllers. So I guess I give it a point for that as well.
We gotta finish this list somewhere, dude. I don't know why D is highlighted. If anybody has any tech tips, that'd be great. Where are we putting the PS2?
PS2 was some great times. I would say, yeah, bottom of A or top of B.
I'm good with that. Nostalgia bump there because these are like almost the same thing, but this is cordless. The PS2 controller definitely gets a nostalgia bump.
The PS2 controller, I think overall was more comfortable than the PS3. It did not have the triggers, but again, the PS3 triggers were not great. So it was, I think, one of the more comfortable PlayStation controllers.
Mm.
So yeah.
All right, well that concludes our tier list.
What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Did we shatter your dreams and offend you by putting your favorite controller in the D tier?
And how many of these controllers, as a young adolescent, did you break by throwing against the wall? Let us know in the comment section.
What would you put in S? What would you put it in D?
Yeah.
Favorite, least favorite?
More
What do you
importantly,
think?
so at the top we have the Series S, and at the bottom we have the Wii U. Would you flip those? Let us know. If you flip
Because I wouldn't.
those, something's wrong.
I couldn't be happier with how that went.
Nothing's good at home if you're flipping those. Anyway, well, thanks for tuning in, guys. Once again, we appreciate the support. Like, subscribe, and share with your friends would be really appreciated.
Yeah, thanks so much for tuning in to Tier List Tuesday. This has been Broken Port Media, and go break something.